In 2015, 70% of women who were interviewed by University of Massachusetts came out to say that they really weren't exactly getting satisfied in bed by their men. But of course, we know that men take pride in their sexual performance and satisfaction. Now, today on Not a Guy Thing, we're talking about men satisfying their women, or basically men underperforming in bed. So if the women say that the men are underperforming and the men claim that they are stallions and studs, who exactly are the men performing for? Themselves? For the women? Or since it's showbiz, are they just performing for the crowd? My name is Bernard Akede. This is Not a Guy Thing. I have a lineup of guests. And when you get to see the guests, you will see that these are indeed men. Bearded gang, if you'd like to call them, but men indeed. We need to go on this very, very quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce you to the guests, and then we're going to jump into the topic of the day. By the way, if you're 18 and below, you need to get out of the living room. Not a Guy Thing. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you haven't missed a thing. It's Not a Guy Thing, and we are talking about underperformance in bed, basically, by the men. I'll introduce you to my guests right now, and you will know that this truly is a show by the men, for the men, but the ladies can learn a thing or two. To my immediate left, we have Tunde Koiki, Muscle Music, I like to call him, because he sings and he's got all the muscle. Tunde is a sports journalist, sports analyst, sports writer, and sports presenter. Tunde, nice to be on the show. We're not talking sports today.
Yeah.
I hope you're as fast in this field as you are in sports.
Some people regard this field as a sport as well.
So I'm sure it's a sport. All right, and next to Tunde, we also have Onis. Onis is here. Onis is in the web business. He's a digital strategist. If you can see Onis, you can tell that he's equally as big as Tunde is. Onis, digitally, do you manipulate the women? Onis is also there. Welcome to the show, Onis. And then, of course, there we have Emeka in the building. You can see already from Emeka's build and physique, he is a man and a half. Emeka is into advertising, and, well, more often than not, when you want to sell a product, you put a woman's face there. True or false?
I would say false.
False.
Yeah, right. You have to think about that.
You have to think about that, right? Yeah. If I was a woman, I wouldn't believe in myself. All right. Anyway, so guys, let's jump into the topic of today. Now, basically, a lot of women from this particular survey that I mentioned when we started the show, and the women are saying, and trust me, you all are welcome to just give your own contribution immediately. Who exactly are the men performing for? Now, the women are saying they are undersatisfied, the guys are not doing well enough. But if you ask almost every man, he will say, let me speak Yoruba, the man will say, Okuri meta tabo. That's I'm 3 men and a half in one. So where's the disconnect? Are the guys truly underperforming? Are the guys lying about the performance? Or is it that there is a benchmark? What exactly should guys do? What are they doing wrong?
Want me to go first?
Yeah. So anybody go first.
Actually, I think the truth is there has been quite a lot of fabricated, basically a lot of fabricated and a lot of half-truths about men's bedroom performances. And I think a lot of it has come from the men. A lot of men believe that they are studs, they are stallions, their sexual ability is great. But from my personal survey, I find that a lot of women actually are deeply dissatisfied with the activities that a lot of their men carry out. And the truth is, a lot of men don't understand, they don't have the humility to realize the fact that these women are not getting satisfied. As long as they get their rocks off, they're good. Meanwhile, it's a two-way thing. Otherwise, you might just be masturbating. So, unfortunately, there is such a huge amount of women and a great misconception about men's sexual abilities and prowess that it seems as if a lot is getting done. Meanwhile, there are a lot of dissatisfied women out there.
Yeah, but are the men under pressure to perform? That's the question now. Is it because, that you clearly said there are a lot of dissatisfied women out there. So do you think the men are under pressure to perform? And more often than not, you are in sports today, you know that when a man is under pressure to perform, sadly, many times they don't perform. So guys, do you think the men actually are under pressure to perform?
It would seem that way because there's a lot of talk about this subject matter. So I would want to say yes, a lot of men are under pressure. And the society we live in.
So who's pressurizing them? Who's putting them under the pressure?
I think it's more or less the society, because it's not just the women. Okay. Other men are putting other men under the same pressure as well. So that's why I would say the pressure is making a lot of these men to lie about how well they perform as well. So it's the society, it's the pressure and everything that is affecting, I would say.
Emeka, agree, disagree?
Yeah, well, I would say society, but I wouldn't say society in the terms of, you know, when people say society, like typically we make it sound like it's some external concept, like you know, society. Some aliens came in and they made those rules for us.
Okay.
It's people that make up societies, and it's people who create this pressure. So whatever the term society is typically derived from what people would define it as within a set space or time. So yeah, I would say society, but society in terms of it's the guys that put themselves under this pressure. It's no one telling you. So most times you realize that the reason why people tend to make this claims is typically to assert themselves in a higher place in the social hierarchy. So you're within your friends, and typically certain things make you bigger within your friends. And then you start to assert these things, whether they are truths or untruths. You just say them just to appear.
Just to appear like to be
a bit bigger than the next
bigger
guy.
than you. Today you're shaking your head like like something you don't.
No, I tend to agree with him to a certain extent because men put a lot of men under pressure because I mean when you walk into a urinal, I mean back in the day when you walk in the urinal stall in the men's bathroom. The next thing you see, the other man checking out what the other man is carrying, the other checking out the other man's equipment. It's like an arms race.
Yeah.
It's like a nuclear arms race. But the truth about it is, while men put other men under pressure, the preponderance of the pressure is actually coming from the women. Women are increasingly more liberated, more knowledgeable, and are beginning to own their own sexuality like never before. Really? Because we have a tremendous amount of women. I mean, men are actually going home with homework now to go and study how do I please my woman.
All right. I have to cut you there. We need to go on this very, very quick break. Now, here's the thing. We went out today to listen to women speak. Maybe if there's a part 2 of this particular show, we would have a woman on set to talk about it. So many women spoke, but they chose to speak off camera. But there was this one woman who was bold enough to speak to us on camera. When we come back from this break, you hear what she said about men's claim to fame when it comes to performance. Stay with us. It's still not a guy thing. My name is Bernard. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's still not a guy thing. My name is Bernard Akede, and we are talking about men's underperformance in bed. The guys are in the studio. Before we went on break, remember I mentioned that we were on the streets of Lagos this morning, commercial capital of Nigeria, and we were talking to women. A lot of them did not want to speak on camera. Maybe the camera is shy, or just maybe they were going to tell the truths and they didn't want their boyfriends or husbands to hear the bitter truth. But there was one brave woman who chose to speak to us. Guys, be ready to defend yourselves. Here's what the woman said.
On a count of 1 to 10, I would say men should just cut down on the overhyping themselves. I mean, most times, if you do like the survey you're doing now, to be honest, there have been too much overhyping. Bring it down. Action is a verb. You know, so let's see in the action and not just the too much talk. Most times they do this too much talk. Oh, I'm taking you to the moon and all that. And then you just haven't said anything and you see somebody is snoring your building down. So come on, man. Let's just see what you're offering and not what you're saying.
Let's see what you're offering and know what you're saying. Somebody is snoring your building down. Now that is a sucker punch. She went guns blazing. Sadly, we couldn't put everything she said on camera. Even though we've told children under 18 to step out of the living room, she said a lot. But now, guys, so here's the thing. She's saying, just like we have mentioned, a lot of guys don't perform as much as they say they actually do. And then, like I asked earlier, are the men under pressure? Now, I'm going to bring in certain things. There are a lot of things that we see or we hear that kind of put us on the edge. For example, pornography. You watch porn and you're made to feel or made to believe that the ultimate man in bed should have his member at a certain size, or he should be built a certain way. sadly, I don't think I'm as built as all three of you. I should be built a certain way, or it should be of a certain height. Do you think some of these, should I call them statistics, or some of these yardsticks can actually measure a man's performance, or these are some of the things that put the men under pressure based on performance?
Yeah.
You think?
I personally agree that it puts men under pressure. There's no doubt about that. Because the media is selling, well, the media in the sense of one is selling illusion, things that are not real.
What kind of illusions? So what are things that we see from the media that you think are not real?
First off, not every man is built the way most of those ones
size. Some of these boys are freaks of nature. I mean, those are weapons right there. And also this illusion that a man should be able to last like 5 hours in bed. No, it's a movie, which means that it's been cut, it's been edited, and many of these men go on and on for like 25, 30 minutes. It's not natural. 25, 30 minutes. Emeka,
you are in advertising, you are also in TV business. Basically, do you think men are under pressure based on what they see on TV? And then I know that in advertising sometimes it's make-believe. Like you say, television, break it down, it's tell live vision. Is it also the same thing that we see, when it comes to men performing and in porn? All the moaning that women do, the shouting, the facial expression. You think some of these things are part of what put the men under pressure to perform, basically?
I typically wouldn't like to. I typically don't like to give myself an excuse and just sort of dwell my whole entire existence on something external from myself. So there could be a lot of reasons why we do certain things we do. So perception drives the world, and that is true. But perception drives the world, and that is true. But you could look at the TV and then look away from the TV and come back to real life. It's your choice to look at the TV and then take whatever you see on TV and then amplify it and try to apply it in real life, even if it's not working. You know what I mean? So it's one thing to say it's a one-off, I'll do this one-off, I'll try this one time, and it doesn't work, which typically might be the case for most people. So you bragged, and then it come up short. Typically, you just rest it. But most times, you keep bragging.
So whether you're performing well or not, you just keep bragging.
Just keep going.
See, Bernard, the truth about it is, the vast majority, because of the taboos that we have around sex in this part of the world, the vast majority of men that you see in this country today, the vast majority had their own first sexual experience by watching porn. They were not taught that this is how it's done or this is how it's not done. So they have this perception that this is how a sexual encounter is carried out. But porn is make-believe. And if you grow up start watching rough, S&M or rough, the more barbaric forms of it, that's the perception that you believe this is what it is. And that is why that's led to a lot of preponderance in terms of rape and in terms of sexual assault, because these men don't know any better. They are conditioned to believe that this is how women react.
Do you think culture and tradition, based on the fact that we are in Africa here, we're not as vocal as the Western world are. They are a more liberal society. Let me use that term. So they talk about sex. They actually, and there are less restrictions there. Do you think some of these things also affect, men's performance in bed and then being able to speak about it as well?
I honestly don't think external factors affect the men's, or these factors influence the men's performance in bed. What it affects is how men speak about it, how men brag about it. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you watch, see, or say, you perform how you can perform.
Okay. I'll cut you there. Now, how about women's need? Now, at the beginning of the show, I said, who exactly are the men performing for themselves, the women, or for the crowd? How about women's needs now? Do you think the women's needs are secondary? Because once a man, like one of the ladies who spoke off camera said, you find out that most men, once they are done, well, she said 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I believe that men go longer. But she said once they're done 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the men are satisfied and they forget about the women. So do you think women's needs are now secondary as compared to the men's needs when it comes to performance?
There's not been a time where I can remember where, quite honestly, where the women's need people put the women's need ahead of their needs. It's not a very societal thing to do. Certainly not a thing people of this day and age practice a lot. So if you would put the women's need above yours, typically you have to view sexual experience as something holistic, not necessarily just getting there and get out. But a lot of people aren't able to do that. A lot of people just want to sort of ease themselves. A lot of guys just want to just ease themselves and get it over with. So it's the whole mentality going into sex. That's the thing. So for women, because of how differently wired they are, it's just a bunch of things, just just here and there, just a bunch of things to get a woman to the point of sexual satisfaction. Typically, men don't have the time for that.
Really?
I mean, they have the time, but typically, why I say typically, and I'm very careful with words, it's some people do it, but it's not the norm. It's not something prevalent. It's not like you don't see 10 guys who put in the whole work, like and view sex as a holistic experience.
Let me just say that human beings are just, what he's trying to say basically, that human beings are intrinsically selfish by nature. I mean, it's all about me, but in terms of sexual satisfaction, this is a whole different battleground, a whole different ball game. As a G, if you understand that, okay, this is my woman I'm with, it is paramount, it should be paramount at the back of your mind that she must have and achieve ultimate satisfaction before you start thinking of your needs. That is where a true man steps in. But unfortunately, the kind of men that we have right now, wired about, look, once I'm done, go and take care of yourself. And that's not how it should. It should be. And unfortunately, one thing we haven't even talked about is the fact that a lot of this external pressure is also coming from the fact that there's a tremendous amount of alcohol and substance abuse, which is severely affecting the performance of a lot of men. Alcohol consumption and drug abuse is, I think, is responsible for almost between 79 and 85% of erectile dysfunction cases in this country as of today. And the consumption of alcohol in this country is incredible. So that's also added increased pressure. Then there's also peer pressure. I believe that leads you to believe that, okay, if you take this medication or this alcoholic stimulant, it helps you achieve this kind of stamina in bed, which is not true.
All right, okay, Olis, very, very quickly. Basically, what do you think about this? Still talking about the women now.
Yeah.
I asked earlier, do you think that women are not being considered? I saw you nodding your head the other time. What do you think? Do you think men take women into consideration like a lot more?
Yeah, I think the honest truth is, given the society where like he said, we're still very, very selfish people. So most of the men do not consider the women. They do not take into consideration the women.
Sexual encounters.
Usually they don't. Like, men are looking for me. I just want, like he said, they're rocks up and they're fine. So they do not take the women into consideration, and this is also a factor that.
All right, we're gonna go on this last break and then come back on the home stretch. Now, I'd like all three of you to be the analysts and to give your own opinion on what we can do, what men can do to improve sexual performance, and then maybe to even talk about it more, what they can learn, what they have learned, what they can unlearn, and then what they can relearn. And then hopefully maybe in the next episode we'll have a woman in the show or on the show. If you're just joining us, it's still not a guy thing. My name is Bernard. We're talking about underperformance in bed, and particularly we're looking at the men. You can join the conversation online. Use the hashtag not a guy thing. We'll be right back after this break. It's the home stretch of the show, not a guy thing, and we're talking about underperformance in bed. I've had Ulis, I have Tunde, and I have Emeka in the building talking about underperformance in bed. We've talked about a whole lot. If you're just joining us, too little, too late. But you're not going to miss this last part, and we're talking about what men can do. Now, everybody's going to be a therapist, and you tell us what you think. We've talked about porn already, how there's been a lot of misleading and misguiding information from porn. So are we striking out porn as a source of knowledge or information concerning men knowing women's body and knowing how to perform better in bed?
Absolutely, I think so.
Porn should be stricken out.
Porn should be stricken out.
That's a huge market you're cutting out.
It's the destruction of an entire industry completely. But unfortunately, porn gives a very wrong signal as to how sexual encounters should be. Then also, it's also been medically proven that men who watch a lot of porn also have problems organically interacting with women when it comes to actual physical and sexual activity, because what they see in porn, it's like I said, it's scripted, it's not real. Okay. So when they do come up against a real person, it's a total disconnect from what they've learned and imbibed as to what they actually encounter.
I think it's an expectation thing. So it's just a mind thing. That's what I'll think. So you've seen something and then you build an image in your mind on how something should go. And then in the experience, you're thinking about the perception you've already built and just living up to that perception. And you're not in the experience. Yeah. So it's more of, and that's the same thing with bragging about sex. So you're thinking of how you should deliver based upon your word, and you're not in the experience.
Okay, so once taken out, so Liz, what can we do? What can the men do?
So first, we're talking about satisfying women, right? You can't satisfy someone without asking them what they want. So I think the women have to be brought into the game, and it boils down to individuals and their partners. So what one partner wants is different from what the other wants. So it's necessary to find out, what should I do better? Yeah,
so that means if you've had like 5 partners in a week, you have to have a memo of what each and every one of them wants. I have a list. Okay, Kelechi, this is what she wants. Kende, this is what she wants. Or are you going to keep a mental, what reservoir?
Yeah, women are every woman is different. What works for one might not work for another. That's if you're into variety. So that's where education and communication comes into play. You have to ask questions. What do you want? What works for you? How would you like to be pleasured? And also education as well, because a lot of men need to unlearn what they've learned about sex and about women, because a lot of us are ridiculously ignorant, and that's the truth. Also, substance abuse, education in that regard is also pretty key as well. I have medical doctors as friends who are treating men as young as 28 and 25 for erectile dysfunction. It's a major pandemic now because of substance abuse and a lot of things. So until we begin to look into a lot of this, and also lifestyle choices, a lot of men, they let themselves go, they now grow a pot belly, you don't work out, you don't exercise, you can't perform in bed. It's not rocket science.
All right, just before we go, I'll quickly ask this question. Now, you clearly said Tunde earlier that most men get their first visuals of sex from porn or maybe from magazines, basically, and it gives them wrong notion, wrong impression. If you have a son, at what age will you begin to teach him sex education? So that in the at the very least,
Bernie,
the woman he will be with not say don't slow down the baby.
To be honest, a lot of these kids now are getting increasingly better educated and more informed at a younger and younger age. I mean, the moment he can talk, I'm starting to tell him about women and his own bodies and about sex education. The very moment he can talk, I'm telling it to him.
The very moment he can talk.
The very moment
once he can say that.
About sex education, it's wide. You understand? So there's what you teach them when they're very tender, and then there's what you teach them as they grow old. Or when you are.
Exactly. You don't teach a primary one something in master's.
Emeka, how about you?
I would say 13.
At 13.
Because I'm about practicality. But come on, like what exactly are you going to tell your son before he's 10 o'clock? I'm 10 years old. So there's a thing of telling him everything he should know, but we know these are like X-rated conversation that you probably want to tell a kid when they are ready, just mentally ready to be able to understand at least what you're saying. But I would say 13. I think 13 would be the sweet spot.
All right, we're about to go, and it's been quite an interesting show. Before we go, I'm not going to leave without putting you all on the spot. On a scale of 1 to 10, guys, 1 being least and 10 being the highest, I'd like you to tell me what your performance is like today.
You didn't go. I'm just.
All right. Well,
I can't be.
If none of you is going to say it, it's not a guy thing. My name is Bernard. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm an 11, by the way. Join us next time, same time next week, where we'll be talking about something that the ladies would like to hear and that the guys don't talk about. Not a guy thing. My name is Bernard. Adios.
Hello everybody, I'm Vambai Mutiniri. You're watching News Central TV. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking right here.